Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is so good to be together on this morning. Welcome to First Parish Brewster Unitarian Universalist Sunday service. We are a Unitarian Universalist welcoming congregation of people of diverse philosophies and beliefs, people of various cultures and races, sexual orientations, gender identities, abilities, and socioeconomic backgrounds. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your path, may this be a place of rest and restoration on your journey. For those of you who may be first-time visitors this morning, welcome. Welcome on this morning, which we make sacred by our presence together. If you are visiting, please let us know in the chat box. And a big welcome to people calling in. We're so glad that you are here. Also, a big welcome to our visitors from the UU Church of Saco and Biddeford, and our visitors from the Sanford Unitarian Universalist Church. We're so glad you are choosing to worship with us this morning. I'm Reverend Jessica Clay, the minister of First Parish Brewster. Happy to be leading the service this morning with Maggie Baker on tech support and Donica Buckley, our music director.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Donica Buckley, the music director. I'm so delighted to have Pat Lamanna with us in person this morning from her home in Hyde Park, New York. She is a member of the Poughkeepsie UU, and we hope she can be with us in person on Cape Cod in the future. Pat frequently leads UU services or community presentations on topics such as folk singers Pete Seeger, Melvina Reynolds, or Phil Oakes, peace advocate, peace pilgrim, and the fight for women's suffrage through song. Pat has been writing and performing music all her adult life. Her songs have a strong folk influence and cover issues such as peace, religion, and the environment. One of her songs, Peace Pilgrim, is featured in part on Pete Seeger's Grammy-nominated album, The Storm King. She has garnered high praise from Pete Seeger, Peter Yarrow, and many others. It is such a joy to chat with her. It has been such a joy to chat with her to plan music for this service. Thank you for being here, Pat.
In community news announcements, today is the last of our Covenant group listening sessions. That's at 11:30 after the service. Maggie will place the link in the chat box. All are welcome to join us for that. Additionally, please put on your calendars Saturday, February the 27th. We have two things going on that day. The first thing in the morning, we have a come together meeting for all committees. We request your attendance at this meeting. This is a time for all committees to check in with each other and share how the year is going. You can RSVP to Cove. There's more information about this in the weekly angle. Additionally, that afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m., we will be leading a rock ritual in our parking lot next to the solar field. This is in anticipation of our service in mid-March that commemorates 1 year of this pandemic. So you are invited to write a word or a phrase on a rock that represents this year for you and come and place it in a special spot in our parking lot. And it will be a drive-through thing, much like our in-gathering. All are welcome at that. There will be more details on that in the weeks to come. Additionally, please have a chalice nearby for our chalice lighting. Our services are captioned. You need to turn on the caption in your menu bar. And after Joys and Concerns today, we will be turning the chat off for the rest of the service. So ends our announcements today. Welcome to worship. It is so good to be together.
We, the members of the Covenant Task Force, are happy to welcome you to worship this morning. We will be exploring the theme of covenant. A covenant is a statement of intent. It is an agreement that affirms our desire to practice living and working together in ways that lead to the growth, the health, and the well-being of community.
A covenant is a practice of being with each other as spiritual partners.
A covenant is an agreement among people that connects them in a spirit of trust to communicate wisely and openly and lovingly.
A covenant is aspirational and contains promises made in agreement with one another. It recognizes the responsibility we all share to trust one another and put community above our own personal wishes or beliefs.
A covenant is a promise or pledge I make to everyone with whom I interact. In my life before retirement, I was a kindergarten teacher, so I'm used to pondering the letters of the alphabet. I started with the C in covenant, and these words came to mind: care, commitment, connection, communication, concern, community.
Having a congregational covenant, I believe, will strengthen our ability to be more lovingly and comfortably interdependent, and will allow us to make our principles more alive in this community.
A covenant gives direction, especially for someone new to First Parish Brewster and Unitarian Universalism as I am. It's a reminder of how we intend to be with each other. And even if you're a seasoned UU, we can always use reminders.
Principles and affirmations are statements of belief. Covenants are statements of intent that guide our way of being together in order for us to live out our principles and affirmations in tangible ways.
First Parish Brewster, UU, could use a covenant to affirm our reciprocal openness and trust. It may help if we can embody this openness in a few words which express belief in each other, that when conflicts appear, we trust each other to find pathways of communication that are open, tranquil, and reflect the courageous values that we hold together.
Ours is a covenantal faith. Many of us have a history with making and adhering to covenants in small group ministry, as well as other groups at First Parish. Ours will be a calling in, not a calling out covenant. We will invite our beloved community over and again to treat all members with direct, open, honest communication with love and respect.
Principles and affirmations are statements of belief. Covenants are statements of intent that guide our way of being together in order for us to live out our principles and affirmations in tangible ways.
Walking together in mutual support, sharing ourselves openly and directly in a trusting and respectful manner. Our UU covenantal faith has allowed me to honor the strengths and weaknesses of myself and others. I have assimilated the power of mindful listening and learned that open, direct communication will enable me to change and grow as an individual.
This faith, Unitarian Universalism, is quite new to me. I embraced it because I felt our core value of love is stated simply and asks courage. In a covenant group, I experienced how a simple statement protected trust within the group, and this helps me to understand how a covenant could help us as a whole congregation.
My covenantal faith asks me to widen my circle, to stretch and grow. I feel great freedom in the safety of this beloved community to be myself, to be inspired, and held up time and time again.
I have many miles to go on this new journey, but at this early point, I feel safe, trusted, and eager to experience what's coming. Today, I light our chalice for all of us on this covenantal journey.
Come, let us worship together.
What makes this place a sacred place is not some ancient scroll, no relic old or statue cold or painting on the wall, but the kindness shown at every hand, the smile on every face, and the love we bring and the joy we sing make this a sacred place. What makes this place a sacred place is the fellowship we share. A listening ear, a word of cheer to show how much we care. A kiss to greet when first we meet, a parting fond embrace, and the love we bring and the joy we sing make this a sacred place. What makes this place a sacred place is our journey toward the truth. Woman, man, black, white, and tan, the aged and the youth, each giving all they have to give and taking all they need. And the love we bring and the joy we sing make a sacred place indeed.
Thank you, Pat. Breath Meditation by Samuel Trumbore. Let us turn inward now. Feel the rhythm of the breath, in and out, in and out. Find the peace of just being with the flow of breath, letting go of yesterday and tomorrow. Feel the restorative power of peace in this moment. A peace large enough to open to the concerns and sorrows that trouble us. A stillness quiet enough to respond to the joys and celebrations that enliven us. There is a safety here in the rhythm of the breath. The ebb and flow of life is enacted with each one. Taking in oxygen sustenance, letting go of carbon dioxide waste. Taking in the fullness of experience, letting go of the residue that wants to cling to us. Cultivate inner peace and inner safety in this sanctuary. This sanctuary dedicated to cultivating the spirit of life, dedicated to being a beacon of love for all beings. We will now sit in a moment of silence together.
If I believed in God, what would I do? I'd take my money, give it to the poor. If I believed in God, I'd sing in praise of each starry night, all my sunlit days. I will live as if I believed in God. I will live as I believe. If I believed in God, I'd take good care of this body He fashioned for me to wear. If I believed in God, I would not judge. I'd meet everybody with trust and love. I will live as if I believed in God. I will live as I believe. But I don't believe in hell, nor that anyone can tell me how to be in this world, what to think, or whom to love. If I believed in God, my life would be a never-ending prayer for peace. If I believed in God, my joy would fill the 7 seas and echo through the hills. I will live as if I believed in God. I will live as I believe. I will live as if I believed in God. I will live as I believe. If I believed in God, what would I do?
When your Board of Trustees met at the end of August, we set a goal of creating a covenant for the well-being of the community that can be voted on at the next annual meeting. I joined that task force along with board member Catherine Farnham and congregants Rand Burkert, Barb Draper, and Carrie Keith. It has been an honor to work with this group. At the beginning of each bi-weekly meeting, we read this from David Augsburger to guide our work. A group is as healthy as its social contract is clear, a congregation as faithful as its covenant is mutually understood, a pastor as effective as the pastor's and the people's commitment to trust and integrity is honored, guarded, and fulfilled. Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal as opposed to a creedal faith. We are not told what to believe, and in fact, our faith proudly exists under a large tent, incorporating many different beliefs and faiths, including no faith whatsoever. Discovering that fact when my husband Raj and I initially came to First Parish was a breath of fresh air. The tolerance, the embrace and celebration of the other was refreshing. I felt safe. I had come home. I felt home also in the covenant groups I have joined each year at First Parish, in the Beloved Conversations group and in other working groups at FPB. Each of these developed a covenant created and adopted by its members as a way we want to be with each other. It speaks of the promises we keep with each other around integrity, respect, and deep listening. The board begins each meeting with a reading of our covenant, not because we can't remember it month to month. We center it we remind ourselves each time how important our covenant, our promises are to each other. It is time that this congregation, as David Augsburger said, establishes a social contract that is clear, a covenant that is mutually understood. Our task force is in the process of listening and taking to heart the voices of our beloved community as we fashion our covenant for your review and concurrence. The last of these 4 listening sessions will be held today, right after this worship service. Although it is too early to know exactly how our congregational covenant will read, we do know this. It will be a calling in, not a calling out covenant. It will invite all our church members to take special care to speak to each other directly, openly, and honestly. We will aspire to avoid situations where we engage in gossip or talking about rather than to an individual. We will try to keep the space safe for all. Aspire to take those risks, to listen, to be better, and to help each other. And we have folks standing by in the congregation to help facilitate a difficult conversation between individuals, should that arise. This is a time in our nation and in this congregation to rededicate ourselves to listening and honoring each other with care and respect. I cherish the care that I feel in this community. First Parish continues to provide connection that helps me and many of us through this challenging period of physical distance and pandemic. And we will meet together in person again. Let's call each other into covenant and lean into being the best community that we can be.
Thank you, Susan Smith, on behalf of our Covenant Task Force. Now is the time in the service where we collect for our offertory plate. Each week we have the practice of splitting our plate, half of it going to the work of First Parish Brewster and half of it going to a worthy organization. This week, the organization we are splitting our plate with is the Alzheimer's Family Support Center. The Alzheimer's Family Support Center of Cape Cod provides an array of personalized services and pragmatic counseling to the 10,000 families, individuals, and caregivers on Cape Cod currently living with Alzheimer's and other dementia-related illnesses. Their goal is to help families navigate the complexities and challenges they face across the span of these diseases, while providing a research-based family and community-centered social model. All of their services are provided free of charge. I know this center has made a difference in the lives of people in this congregation and continues to do that as well. We thank you for your generosity this morning. There are a couple ways you can give. You can text to give, you can mail a check to our office, writing it out to firstparishbrewster.org, or you can go on our website and give there as well. Maggie will share the details in the chat screen. However you choose to give this morning, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for sharing your resources with us and the Alzheimer's Family Support Center. The offertory will now be gratefully received. Our reading this morning is For What Binds Us by Jane Hirschfield. There are names for what binds us, strong forces, weak forces. Look around, you can see them. The skin that forms in a half-empty cup, nails rusting into the places they join, joints dovetailed on their own weight. The way things stay so solidly wherever they've been set down. And gravity, scientists say, is weak. And see how the flesh grows back across a wound with a great vehemence, more strong than the simple, untested surface before. There's a name for it on horses when it comes back darker and raised. Proud flesh. As all flesh is proud of its wounds, wears them as honors given out after battle. Small triumphs pinned to the chest. And when two people have loved each other, see how it is like a scar between their bodies, stronger, darker, proud. How the black cord makes of them a single fabric that nothing can tear or mend.
Long, long ago and far, far away, a man took a bite of an apple, they say. He was living in Eden, a beautiful life, till he was corrupted by his evil wife. And with that all humanity fell. Oh, the stories we tell, myths and legends and lies. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. Long, long ago and far, far away, we were slaves unto Pharaoh in Egypt, they say. But the Lord brought us forth with his outstretched hand and led us through desert into Canaan land, to which he gave us forever to dwell. Oh, the stories we tell, myths and legends and lies. They tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. Long, long ago and far, far away, a virgin gave birth to a baby, they say. He was nailed to the cross so that we'll never die, and all who believe straight to heaven will fly, and the rest will be cast into hell. Oh, the stories we tell, myths and legends and lies. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. Long, long ago and far, far away, Allah appeared to Mohammed, they say. The words that he spoke became the Quran. Now they must be the law of each true Muslim land, to protect us from the infidel. Oh, the stories we tell, myths and legends and lies. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. We tell ourselves stories and then we believe them, and millions of innocents die. Long, long ago and far, far away, a pinpoint of matter exploded, they say. It formed gaseous clouds and comets and stars and all manner of life on this planet of ours, and perhaps on some others as well. We need new stories to tell. I wonder how long it will take. Can we sit down together and talk with each other for all the dear innocents' sake? Can we sit down together and talk with each other for all the dear innocents' sake?
I know that many of you miss the space that I am currently in. You miss the feeling of gathering in person, the feeling of seeing so many familiar faces. And some of you are new members who your whole experience of First Parish Brewster is online. Someday soon, we will be able to gather in this space again. I think of that first gathering and how good it will be together. Chances are we will still be masked, but it will be so good to be in each other's presence. And we will be excited about it initially. We will probably be on really good behavior. Kind of like when you first start dating someone. You hide all of your flaws or those parts of your personality that might be a little hard to bear, just wanting to put your best foot forward. People often do this when starting a new job as well, or maybe if they are new members to a congregation. But we, my friends, are creatures of habit, and soon we will fall into our routines, into our regular ways of being together, past that first initial gathering, which will be so good to be together. And there's this expectation that because we're all Unitarian Universalists, we're always respectful to each other. We certainly don't gossip. We always use kind words, much like how we treat our partners and the people we work with, right? Wrong. We are full, messy, complicated selves in this place and the other places and with the other people we interact with. So let me tell you a story. When the Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson was serving a congregation, this congregation struggled with the way they communicated with each other. So in this struggle, in this attempt to try to move in covenant, move towards the promises that they were making to each other, they created buttons for all of them to wear. These buttons said, "Is it true? Is it kind? Will it help?" And everyone wore these buttons. They wore them at coffee hour, they wore them in meetings, they wore them in their interactions with each other to remind each other of what it means to covenant together, to make promises about how we want to be together. So some of you know that Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson died last year, and over I saw colleagues online telling stories about her, about the impact of her ministry in this world, including the story of these buttons. My colleague, Reverend Kate Wilkinson, who serves at the Meeting House in Provincetown, tells that when she was preaching on right relations and how we are with one another, she reached out to Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson to ask about these buttons, and lo and behold, she received one in the mail. And this is it. So this is part of Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson's legacy, this button that says, is it true? Is it kind? Will it help? And so as we sit on the cusp of this creating a covenant together, this is an invitation for us all. An invitation into creating covenant together is an invitation in part to dreaming about how we want to be together, about how we hope to be, and how we hope our words to be. Are they true? Are they kind? Will they help? Because once we gather in this space again, we will bring our full selves and we will be processing the trauma of living through a pandemic. And inevitably, there will continue to be change in this place. And quite often, change is met with resistance, especially in this place. So for those of you that have belonged to this congregation for a long time, you know that belonging to a congregation such as this one, where there has been a congregation on this spot since the year 1700, can import the sense that, sure, the outside world, that's changing, but in here, things stay the same. And yet over and over again, this congregation has faced change. Different staff coming in, different members coming and going. The only constant in this space, besides this building since 1834, is change. And living somewhere like Cape Cod can make you feel like change happens out there, off Cape, but it doesn't happen that much here. There is a normalcy to life here, to the routines that we live in. A lot of things tend to stay the same over time. Not to say that societal change doesn't affect living here, as we've seen through this pandemic. But people who have lived here for many years are used to the routines, to the pace of life, to the tourists that, although they are coming earlier and staying later, they're still coming and leaving in non-pandemic times. And this pace of life that is so familiar. The routines of going to favorite beaches for walks, having the seasons marked by peepers and daffodils. And there's a familiarity that gets into your bones here. This can almost slow you into a sense that change doesn't happen as much here as it does in other places. And for those of you who are longtime members of this congregation, I know you can speak to this. You know that there is a familiarity in these walls, and yet there is also change that has happened again and again and again. So I've been seeing a clergy coach for probably the past 4 months or so, working on systems theory and how my own family patterns affect my ministry here with you all, and looking at this church as a system. He told me that at the beginning of any time a new minister comes to a congregation, the first 5 years are this time of great change and upheaval. It's almost like the whole congregation is reorienting itself around the minister. He said people who used to be in leadership will move back. People who haven't been in leadership will move forward. People will leave the congregation. New people will join. This is typical. He said this time period is a time of great change and transformation and settling around this new focus. So here we are in year 4 together, not quite how I imagined year 4 to be. We are in this time of great change, and we have been since I arrived in August of 2017. And I know for many of you, when I first arrived, there was this sigh of, now things will be stable. Now things will be calm, and we can just do church together. We can just be together and things won't change. I know not all of you thought this, but there was a contingent that said, don't change anything. Let's just do church together. There was a yearning towards the comfort of the familiar. But I was new to you all, and this first 5 years is always a resettling, so change was inevitable. And for some, they thought I changed things too much, and for others, they thought I didn't change things enough. And every time I started to take a breath and say, okay, we made it through this big change. Now maybe we can have a period of calm, something else happened. Because that is the nature of congregational life, that it is constantly changing. And this pandemic has forced us to confront this in ways that were unimaginable a year ago. That the way that we did things had to change in a very drastic manner. Before the pandemic, I know that I made decisions and that the leadership made decisions that some of you didn't agree with. And it felt like the agreements that we had weren't being held to. But through it all, your leadership and I acted with integrity and ethics, and we have continued that through the pandemic. We hold the care of this congregation at the center of what we do, even though we disappoint some of you. And as I've said from the beginning, I will continue to disappoint you. And with all of that, we are moving towards this goal of nurturing the health and boundaries of this congregation. And that is what a covenant does. It reminds us of the promises that we make to each other. It doesn't say we're not going to disappoint each other. It doesn't say that we are not going to hurt each other. But it reminds us about a calling back into relationship, about who we want to be and how we want to be together. It is an invitation into relationship. Reverend Kendall Gibbons says, "Our communities of memory and promise are founded upon covenants because we all need a defense against the impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions." The impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions. Those are present front and center anytime we disagree with each other or we disagree with decisions that are made. We need that defense against that impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions. We need it in how we are together and who we hope to be together. So some of you remember this past fall, we did a congregational engagement survey. Karina and I wrote it based on the same survey that was sent out by the UU Congregation of Toronto, because we wanted to check in with you all and see how you were doing in the midst of this pandemic. So we copied this survey that was sent by another congregation. We sent it out to all of you to check in and see how you're doing. How are you spending your time in this pandemic, and what are you worried about right now? And the survey was anonymous, which meant some of you might say something that you wouldn't otherwise say if you had to attach your name to it. The last prompt on the survey said, "Is there anything else you want us to know?" 29 of you commented your gratitude to staff and leadership for helping us to get through this time together. And one of you said, "I am unhappy with the board's decision to allow our minister to leave again. We are all sacrificing. I also do not understand why she continues to receive her full salary and benefits." So we know, as Unitarian Universalists, we all have opinions here in this community, right? But a covenant calls us back into relationship with each other. It calls us out of anonymous, harmful comments and back into a place where we can have direct conversations with each other. A covenant reminds us of how we want to be together. As Reverend Kendall Gibbons says, our communities of memory and promise are founded upon covenants because we all need a defense against the impulse of immediate feelings that challenge our best intentions. She continues, it's necessary to be reminded from time to time of what you said you were going to do and what you really want, over and above the lure of momentary comfort. And when we are together, that lure of momentary comfort, of having words with barbs because we are feeling hurt and vulnerable and frustrated, is front and center. We are not all on our best behavior when we enter this building, when we are in relationship with each other, when we interact with each other, and we are fully ourselves. And yet part of committing to this congregation is saying, I know I will be changed by the depth of my relationships here and by being connected to something outside of myself. Reverend Kendall Gibbons continues, covenant is our word for the solemn promises, covenant is our word for the solemn promises that counteract the randomness of a future in which anything and everything is possible, by committing us in advance to certain relationships and values. We do this because what we build with intention and even with difficulty is more satisfying in the long run than the pleasures we happen to encounter. We do it in time-consuming rituals, invoking powers that we scarcely know how to name, because we are seeking some way to give our lives the density and dignity and depth that we suspect, with longing, might yet be possible. End quote. What we build with intention and even with difficulty is more satisfying in the long run than the pleasures we happen to encounter. We are seeking some way to give our lives the density and dignity and depth that we suspect with longing might yet be possible. This is why we need a covenant. Because we come into this space with all of our individual personalities, and when we get upset, we can lash out at each other or through anonymous surveys instead of doing the work of building relationship. And a covenant calls us to that holy, sacred work of being in relationship together, being transformed through that, and recognizing it's not all about me, it's about we. Because the truth is, dear ones, that change is still coming. It is a constant here in this place where there has been a congregation for 321 years. Change is constant. Disagreement is constant. And covenantal relationship, that calling in, is an invitation. And having a covenant doesn't mean that we're all going to magically agree with every decision that I make or the board makes, but it means that we proceed with care in how we are together. Covenant in a congregation, in a world which is constantly changing, is an anchor that holds us when everything gets turned upside down. It guides us in how we act towards ourselves and each other. It reminds us, like this pin, to have care with our words. Are they true? Are they kind? Will it help? Because we are seeking that depth and intimacy of relationship with each other, and covenants are about calling us towards each other, calling us to this bigger purpose of being together. We cannot be together in person right now, but we are creating this covenant for how we hope to be together. Right now it's virtually, and soon we will gather in this sanctuary again. Not as soon as we would all like, but we will be in this space again. We will be seeking that depth and dignity of relationship with each other and with something outside of ourselves. We are seeking encounters with the holy and the sacred, and bringing our full selves to this. We seek to covenant with each other to build the world we dream about. And it starts with how we are together in this place, and it radiates out from here. I hope that all of you will support this process of covenant building, that you will attend the listening circle after the service and bring your full selves to that. And when the covenant is proposed, may we not fall into wordsmithing or critiquing. May we trust the leaders that are putting this together with care and integrity, and trust that they are doing this for the health of this congregation. These are the original signers of the covenant that created this congregation. And all of you watching today, you who are members or who will be joining us soon, will have a chance to vote on this covenant that is being created at our annual meeting. You are a part of making history in this place, about a part of cultivating the kind of community we hope to be together. So please bring your ideas to the group after the service, bring your full selves, and dream big about how you want us to be together when we are able to be in person and for the rest of this virtual time. I'll close my sermon today with these words from Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich. Covenant lies at the heart of our spiritual tradition. We freely choose to gather and regather, to make promises and renew promises, to lift each other up and hold each other accountable, that the streams of love might freely flow. Living into our covenants is no small task, but it is a worthy one. Amen.
Sing to the mountains, sing to the stars, sing to your lovers, whoever they are. In trouble and sorrow, in gladness and praise, I'll sing till the end of my days. I am not famous, I'm not on TV. I am no genius, that's easy to see. I'm only one person, so what can I bring but two hands that can work and a voice that can sing? Sing to the mountains, sing to the stars, sing to your lovers wherever they are. In trouble and sorrow, in gladness and praise, I'll sing till the end of my days. I am no child, but my dreams are still young. I believe that the best songs are yet to be sung, of heroes and dragons, of jesters and knaves, and the poor folk who struggle to get through each day as they sing to the mountains, sing to the stars, sing to your lovers wherever they are. In trouble and sorrow, in gladness and praise, I'll sing till the end of my days. Sing for the everyday, sing for the strange, for the faith to accept and the courage to change, and the wisdom to know when you've made the right choice, to stand on the rooftops and raise up your voice as you sing to the mountains, sing to the stars, sing to your lovers, whoever they are. In trouble and sorrow, in gladness and praise, I'll sing till the end of my days. I am not famous, I'm not on TV. I am no genius, that's easy to see. I'm only one person, so what can I bring but two hands that can work and a voice that can sing? Sing to the mountains, sing to the stars, sing to your lovers wherever they are. In trouble and sorrow, in gladness and praise, I'll sing till the end of my days. In trouble and sorrow, in gladness and praise, I'll sing till the end of my days.
Thank you so much, Pat Lamina, for providing wonderful music for us this morning. What a gift it was to have you with us this morning. Thank you for that. So for our benediction this morning, I invite you to place your hands on your heart. Place your hands on your heart. Listen for the words that need to be spoken. Listen for the song that needs to be sung to the mountains. May you go forth from this place and speak that truth, sing that truth. May it be true, may it be kind, and may it be helpful to this world, because that is what the world needs right now. Go in peace and go in love, my friends. We are going to unmute, not just yet, but shortly, so you can all say hello to each other. And thank you again to the UU churches of Saco and Sanford for joining us this morning. You're invited to stay after our cacophony of hello for coffee hour. We do breakout rooms for coffee hour. And for our coffee hour prompt this morning, well, I'll give that after we do our cacophony of hello. So we'll do our hello and then we'll come back and I will invite you to coffee. It's not an hour, it's about 20 minutes, but let me unmute you all.
Good morning, buddy.
Hello, Dave Rogers.
Everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Kat Dyke.
Saco and Sanford.
Oh my goodness.
Saco and Sanford.
Danica.
Hello, Maniacs.
Pat, thank you for your beautiful voice song.
Ricky.
Good morning.
Hello, Donica.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi,
I'm very
Liz.
well.
I love you.
And John.
Maria.
Hi, Mark and Diane.
Roseanne.